Hey, Wayne Williams, speaking of horses, welcome. We are in Manhattan. We're in northern part of Manhattan. We're right at the tip of Harlem, a beautifully restored theater, the Mist Theater. And there are 3 screens running, over 100 films this weekend in the Equus Film Festival right here in New York City. We're happy to be here not only to have a film running, but we're happy to be here and bring you interviews and some highlights of all of these things going on here at the Equus Film Festival in Manhattan. So you stay with us here on Speaking of Horses. We're going to meet some very interesting people from all around the world that are here for this huge Equus Film Festival 2014. Stay with us. Let's go see what's showing on screen. Hey, Speaking of Horses TV, and we're in Manhattan. We're actually in Harlem. We're at the beautiful restored Mist Theater for the Equus Film Festival, the first one in New York City here in 2014. Jean Pignon is my guest. You are here from France, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, your brother-in-law, explain the connection there, but were the founders of Cavalia.
Yeah, he's working for Cavalia a few years ago. I don't know exactly, perhaps 7.
So now, you're also into horses, and you have some films here, correct?
Yeah. I make this film because I would like put a message for people.
So now you live in France currently, right?
Yeah, in South France.
South France. So whereabouts? What's the town?
Near Nîmes. Really, it's between Nîmes and Montpellier.
Okay. So what are your projects right now? Are you working on other shows or other films? What projects are in the works?
Normally my job it's not make a film. It's just make a show for Europe, and sometimes we go in Oman, Qatar, and yeah, it's really interesting. And I try to make a good connection with my horses for make a show, and for movie it's totally different. I pray regular and. Sometimes I say, okay, I'm very happy in my life, and I have a serenity, and perhaps it's good if I make a movie for explain to people why I'm correct now in my life.
Well, you were talking. One of the films that ran here, that you had done, has some beautiful scenery in Switzerland. And it's just gorgeous. But once you get horses in your life.
Okay, but this film, it's a second film. The film what it explains why I'm a serenity today. It's Gazelle. It's the first film.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I have the second film I don't make. I just I make a little bit actor, but okay, I understand now.
Yeah. Well, you have your family with you, so are you enjoying New York City?
Yeah. It's very it's a little bit crazy for Frenchman because when I say I go to New York with a movie, my friend think I'm crazy.
Well, I can tell you that New York can be a little crazy even if you're from here, so don't feel bad. But Jean, it's been very nice to talk to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
And enjoy the rest of your time here at the Film Festival and in New York with your family.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Wayne Williams, speaking of horses, we're at the Equus Film Festival in
billions
Manhattan.
of horses born wild in North America and lived as horses have always lived on this continent. But their homeland was about to undergo unprecedented changes. This is their story. The story of the return of the horse.
Hey, here we are, speaking of horses, the Equus Film Festival in Manhattan. And I am standing here with Bibi. Now, Bibi, I'm going to have you pronounce your last name.
Bemelmans.
Babelmans,
Yes,
okay?
it's Dutch.
It's Dutch. I know you are from Amsterdam.
Amsterdam, correct.
Now, then the reason you're here is there's two or three of you that are here from Lifestyle TV.
Yeah,
So
horse lifestyle.
Horse Lifestyle. So tell us a little bit about how that fits with the film festival here.
Well, Horse Lifestyle TV is an online streaming service with all kind of content for horses. Actually, it's a kind of Netflix for horse lovers. So we have a platform in the Benelux where we create all kinds of content, gather all kinds of content all around horses. We want to become the place where everything about horses comes together. And the film festival is a great example of that, because the film festival has a lot of new films, old films, commercials, everything about horses. It's created with a love for horses. So we are here as a media partner to support the event and to see how we can take the content to a next level and to make it available for everybody, because we are from the Netherlands, we are from Amsterdam, a lot of people here are from Paris or from Canada. So, and if you make it available online, it's available for everybody. So everybody in the world can watch it and don't have to come to New York.
Well, and that's the beauty of the internet, because once it's there, it's anywhere in the world, okay?
Exactly.
And you also undertake projects where you will do some either subtitles or closed captioning so that these films can be viewed in various countries around the world.
Exactly. We have a lot of English-speaking content, and we subtitle it so our people in the Netherlands can see it. And I mean, over here there are so many great movies, and it's good for people to see that also.
Well, and the beautiful part of this, like we're standing here in Manhattan, we are in just north of Central Park a little bit, in the very southern part of Harlem, in a beautifully redone old theater. There's 100 films running on 3 different screens for the weekend. It's a great film festival. But you're here in Manhattan, and it's like, what? Well, horse lovers live everywhere. Just because you don't own a horse doesn't mean you may not be a horse lover.
Exactly. And that's also what Horse Lifestyle is about, because it's a lifestyle. And I mean, you can own a horse, you can ride a horse, you can use a horse for therapy, you can just love horses, you can love the horse lifestyle, just the cooking or everything. So you don't have to own a horse. I mean, horses have the beauty that inspire a lot of people, and you don't have to ride them to be touched by them.
So it's Horse Lifestyle TV. Now, what exactly is the website?
It's www.horselifestyle.tv.
TV, and you can watch it anywhere. And how? Go ahead.
No, yeah, we just did the launch in the Benelux, so it's only available in the Benelux right now.
Okay.
And this is the first step in the States, and we want to roll it out further to the States next year. So next year we will also available in America.
Okay, all right, because I know I'm going to be sending some content to you guys to air there for Speaking of Horses. But this is great. Thank you for taking time to talk to me.
Thank you.
And check it out. Keep following the progress. Horse Lifestyle. We're still here in Manhattan, and thank you very much, the Equus Film Festival. Right now, Colleen Segura is my guest, and you have a little display here in the lobby of the theater. Tell us about your rescue.
Hi. It's Equine Rescue Resource. We're based out of the Hudson Valley, but we were founded in New York City. We were the first rescue. Started in 1999. We now take in horses that have been abused or abandoned or that were unwanted, and we try and find them new homes.
Now, tell us a little bit about this. Founded in, actually, was it the Bronx or Brooklyn? Which was it?
The Bronx. Yes, I grew up in the Bronx. I am a Bronx native, and as a little girl, I had a love for horses. So my dad used to take me to Van Cortlandt Park to ride the ponies, and they had an interesting setup when I was a child. You'd get on the pony, and there was a little track, and they would belt you into the saddle, which really isn't safe, but that's what they did. And it got to the point where I kicked the pony, jumped the rails, and decided I wanted to keep the pony one day because I kept riding the same pony. So I was banned from the pony rides. And my dad had a paper called the Bronx Times Reporter, and he kind of bartered advertising with another stable owner. so he could kind of drop me off and let me play with horses all day.
There you go.
And then at the time, he found out a friend of his who was with the Mounted Police Unit hosted the Police Athletic League's therapeutic riding program. And they worked with disabled children and adults. And I started volunteering. And I believe that was the first therapeutic program in New York City.
Now, the thing is, when you think about the Bronx or Manhattan or Brooklyn or any of the boroughs, Queens, any of the boroughs of New York City, you don't automatically relate this to horses, but there are horses in all the boroughs, right?
Pretty much, yes. There are. Some of the stables have closed. I also work with the New York State Horse Council. I chair their Humane Committee, and we have been helping promote the responsible equestrian use in New York City. And there was a stable that did close last year, and we did help with safety recommendations. We did site visits. We worked with the New York City Parks Department, and the stable's now reopened.
Well, great. Now, again, it is the name of the rescue?
It's Equine Rescue Resource.
Okay, and you do rescue horses and then check them out, put them back up for adoption, right?
Yes, we do. If a horse has any kind of need, whether it be medical, emotional, we meet it. If they need to gain weight, they do. If they need dental care, they get it. It's whatever they need. We have a horse now. We're getting in a 7-year-old Dutch warmblood. The woman spent $30,000 to acquire the horse, $10,000 to import it. A huge, considerable investment, and she's just given up on the horse. So we are actually taking that horse because it was going to be euthanized, but it's lovely, and we're taking him up to Cornell University, and we're going to have a full medical evaluation done, and we're going to see if there's something we can do to further help him.
Right. Well, and that's what rescues are all about, and it's amazing and nice to find one from those of us not from New York City, to know that to find out that when you come here that it's going on, the love of the horse is right here as it is anywhere else in the country.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And we were blessed to have an agriculture school in New York City. In Queens, the borough of Queens, there's a school called John Bown. And I took 4 years of agriculture. And every summer they sent me on different internships, one of which was a horse farm. So I got to learn how horses live outside of the city.
Well, what's the contact data website for your rescue?
Oh, sure. It's www.equinerescueresource.com.
And it's a good cause, and if you want to help, please get a hold of them. Colleen, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we're still here. We're in Manhattan, speaking of Horses TV, and we're at the Equus Film Festival. My guest, Sharon Alashazar. Now, Sharon, we just watched your film, and this was an amazing, amazing film. And really, it kind of attacks all of the old thoughts about how the Spanish Mustangs supposedly came up through Mexico, brought by the Spaniards. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about what you discovered that made you want to do this film and come out with this story about some of the real background on these horses.
Okay, well, we were commissioned to do a film on the Spanish Mustang, and when we started to research it, we realized that the horse, Equus caballus, is one of the oldest native wildlife species in America. And it was commonly thought before that the horses had originated in Asia. But when we started speaking with people like J. Kirkpatrick or Ross McPhee, we realized that the horse actually evolved here in America, had crossed over the Bering Land Bridge, and then was reintroduced by the Spaniards when they came in.
Okay. So you discovered all that. Now there is also, according to your film, there's DNA evidence for this. Now, how did you do that?
Okay, I didn't research any of the science. I'm a filmmaker, I'm a translator, and I'm an educator. So what we did was we interviewed all the people that researched all that. So basically, when you see a Shetland pony bones or draft horses ponies bones in the soil, you're going to think they're different species. So paleontologists historically would see the bones of a draft horse, let's say, or the bones of a Shetland pony, and they would say, oh, that's a different species from that. But what we now know is that they're both horses, they're both Equus caballus. And it wasn't until DNA came out when they could actually realize that even though the bones might be totally different, the sizes, that they could realize that their species were equivalent. So what happened was we had a horse in the Americas that had evolved here from the horse family 54 million years ago. We had Equus caballus that evolved here 1.5 million years ago. And 7,300 years ago, we had a great megafauna extinction. All of our large animals were extinct, including the horse, which was known as Equus lambii. Okay, so we thought that that horse was extinct and that the horse that we all ride and love today came from Asia. What they found out was there was a scientist from Sweden found out that they did DNA testing on a horse that was found in the permafrost, and the DNA of that permafrost horse, Equus lambii, even though it's a tiny, tiny horse, is exactly genetically equivalent to our modern horse today. So they realized that, oh, wow, that horse that quote-unquote died out never did die out. It never went extinct.
And what you point out in the film, or what it's called in the film, is I forget the total number of years, but the absence for a few years before that horse returned, hence the title of your film, Return of the Horse.
Yes.
So, go ahead.
So yes, and that's a very important point. So basically, the horse died out in the Americas 7,300 years ago and was reintroduced by the Spaniards in the 16th century. So
It was like a homecoming.
exactly, it was like it came Return of the Horse. So what happened was, its absence for 7,000 years, people against the notion that the horse is wild or native say, oh, well, it was gone for 7,000 years. It's a biological non-event. 7,000 years is less than 1/2% of the species age. The horse's species age is 1.5 million years. To be absent 7,000 years is a non-event. It's a blink of an eye. So just because it's been gone 7,000 years doesn't mean that it's no longer native. It has to be native somewhere.
In the history of the world, that is
Exactly, and in the history of the species of the horse as well.
Right.
So it would be like I'm from New Mexico, and let's say I'm 80 years old, and I go to California for a month, and you say, "Oh, you're not a New Mexican," and I come back, and that's kind of that's one of our analogies.
So, how do people get a hold of your film? How can they purchase it, buy it? What is the chain of command here?
Okay. So the film is not for sale. It's a non-commercial film. It's an educational film. We are able to screen it. I love speaking about the horse. We've had symposiums based around the film. I've given talks around the film.
There was the airing here at the film festival.
Airing here at the Equus Film Festival, which was great. It's an academic piece, as you know. If you go to returnofthehorse.com, you can email me and we could set up some screenings. It's purely educational, so we can't sell it, but we're just trying to get the word out there.
I know, because sometimes you get into some real legal issues with this, and I won't say any more. But Sharon, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And we are at the Equus Film Festival. We're in Upper Manhattan. We're actually on the edge of Harlem at the refurbished Miss Theater, and we're having a ball. And this was a fantastic film. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Wayne Williams. We're here with Speaking of Horses. We're at the beautiful Mist Theater. We are in Upper Manhattan, actually the edge of Harlem, at the Equus Film Festival. And right now, Allison Clark is my guest. Now, you're with the New York State Horse Council. You have a booth here, and you're attending a lot of the festivities here at the film festival. So, first of all, tell us about your involvement with the New York State Horse Council.
Well, I've been with the New York State Horse Council for 6 years now. I've lived in New York for over 20, and I'm currently the Southeast Vice President of the Horse Council.
Okay. So, and the Horse Council obviously covers the entire state. And, you know, when you think about New York City, there's a lot of state besides New York City.
Exactly, yes. But we're delighted that we've got horses in all 5 boroughs here in New York City, and we want them to be represented across the state.
Well, and that's a great thing. Now, the film festival itself here, how is this, you know, working into your plans?
Well, it's wonderful because it's an absolutely terrific place to meet and greet everybody. We've had everybody here from jockeys, equine rescue resource places, and it's a case of networking and putting the word out.
Well, and there's over 100 films or short subjects, all equine related, that are playing here on 3 theater screens.
Exactly. It's a wonderful event for New York City, and it's the first time it's been held here.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So, how can people join or get involved with the New York State Horse Council? Website, contact data.
Yes, we have a website which is www.nyshc.org, and we're on Facebook. And all of our chapters have their website, have their Facebook pages as well.
Okay, good. All right, well, Allison, thank you.
Thanks very much.
And see, you don't have to be nervous anymore. It wasn't near that bad, right?
It's lovely to meet you. Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you. Stay with us. We got
And the
more coming
ranks
right
of
here
billions
at the
of
Equus Film
horses born
Festival
wild in North
on
America
Speaking of Horses.
and lived as horses have always lived on this continent. But their homeland was about to undergo unprecedented changes. This is their story. The story of the return of the horse.
I'm Eva Usadi. I'm the founder and director of Trauma and Resiliency Resources. We're a 501c3 public charity based in New York.
My name is Jonathan Roa. I'm a U.S. Army veteran, served in Iraq in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, and I am a volunteer with the program.
Our primary program is Warrior Camp, which is a residential intensive treatment program for combat-related post-traumatic stress disorder and moral injury in active duty military and veterans. It's a program that we run at a horse facility, and equine-assisted psychotherapy is one of our primary treatments. We use EGALA model equine-assisted psychotherapy, meaning that we use horses on the ground only. We don't ride. We have a team of 2 individuals, a mental health professional, which is me, and an equine specialist professional that are in the arena with the warriors, and we do both group sessions and individual sessions.
I took part in a portion of the therapy session, and it turned out to be a huge benefit as far as meshing with the horse and showing its attributes as far as being a herd animal and its fight or flight methods.
Yeah, that's one of the really beautiful things about working with a warrior population, horses, is that they really understand each other because they both have hyperarousal and they're very much on the edge of flight all the time. And so there's a real connection that can be made, and then the therapy team, the human part of the therapy team, figures out how to work with that in terms of helping the warrior process what's actually going on with the horse or horses. And the 2 other components of the program are EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy. It's a very well-known trauma treatment supported by the Veterans Administration and the Department of Defense. We also do yoga, and we live together so that all of this occurs in the context of community.
I also feel as if the holistic portion of the therapy is a very spiritual method in kind of awakening the soldiers' inner spirits and kind of loosening them up and bringing them back to a peaceful place instead of being so hyper, alert and just overly sensitive to its surroundings.
Yeah, that's one of the nice comments that a lot of our warriors have made after the program, is that it's the integration of the different modalities that's really effective, that people go from an EMDR session into the arena with the horses, then they have yoga, then they go back to EMDR. They're getting a lot of work done in a short period of time, and we've seen some really tremendous gains that are being made. And the way to contact us, we have a website which can be located at www.trrhelp.org. The full name of our organization is Trauma and Resiliency Resources, which you can Google, Facebook, and find us on Twitter. Or you can call 917-509-5804.
Hey, here we are. We're still in Manhattan. We're at the Equus Film Festival. Janice Fisher is my guest. Now, you do something a bit unusual, Janice. Tell us about that.
Well, several years ago, I had this idea to dress up real horses as carousel horses. So what I did is I make the costumes, and then I build a backdrop, and I dress the horse up, and I work with a trainer, and she lunges the horse past the backdrop, and we have horses, real horses, looking like carousel horses.
Wow, let me see your calendar here. Now this, I'm going to hold this up and get a little closer to the camera. But here is one of the calendars, and you have, this is a Frisian dressed
Correct.
up as a
Correct.
carousel horse. So what inspired you to do this?
You know, I've always been fascinated with carousels, and I think most of us were as children, even before we even had horses. And so I always remember like which one I was going to ride that time. And so I just thought, you know, we always envisioned them being alive.
Yeah, yeah. It's your first, if you don't have horses in the backyard when you're born, it's your first experience climbing up on a horse and having it move, right?
Exactly. And you pick the one of your dreams. Like
Right.
some wants a bucking bronco, some want the little pretty one with flowers. So it's an extension of ourselves as
Yeah.
well.
Well, this is really neat. So now you're a photographer by trade also, right?
Correct. I do a lot of portraits of equines, families with their animals, and women and their horses, or just horses.
And you're based in the Chicago area?
Yes, Grays Lake, Illinois, which is about an hour northwest of Chicago.
Well, it's quite an interesting project to. It's quite an interesting project, and it's really fun. You know, a lot is accomplished with this, and we're glad to have you here. We had to come all, you know, with me in southern Wisconsin, you in the Chicago area. We're an hour and a half apart, maybe, but we had to come all the way out here to sit down and talk in Manhattan.
I know. Isn't that ironic? But
It
it's
is.
a pleasure. I'm glad we hooked up.
Well, again, how do people contact you about the calendar?
You know, they can reach me at my website, janicefisher.com, and Janice and Fisher are both with a C.
Good, Janice, thank you.
Thank you,
We're going to
Wayne.
bid farewell to Manhattan and the Equus Film Festival. Thank you all for joining us on Speaking of Horses. We've had over 100 films, 3 different theaters, all weekend long. So we will see you next time on Speaking of Horses.